As I've said before, few things are more sensitive, more confused, more painful than the subject of race and racism. Now, one of the oddities of racial identification in the United States is that there is a category, a racial category, that is not a race. The category of Hispanics. Hispanics basically means you have a Spanish last name, a Spanish surname. They can be Caucasians, full-blooded Spanish people. You could have a Spanish last name and hardly have any Spanish ancestry. If it just passed through your father's line, you could be mostly English and have a Spanish last name. You can be largely American Indian and have a Spanish last name. Many people from Mexico and from South America, as far as how they look, they do appear to be largely Native American, although they may have some other intertappings. You could also be of primarily black, sub-Saharan African background and be Hispanic. You know, it's basically just having it's a surname, not a race. Now, an oddity is that there is a general perception that Hispanics are an oppressed, discriminated against group, disadvantaged, and there's a certain amount of truth to that. But it's also true that Hispanics can be racists, and oddly enough, they can be white racists. One of the biggest defenders of segregation in the old days, when segregation was still a respectable position to have, was a man named Leander Perez. And I think at one point he even founded his own church and said, "We're Presbyterians." And now one of the biggest leaders in the white nationalist or white pride or whatever you want to call it movement is a man named Nick Fuentes. Now, Fuentes has a Spanish last name. He also has other white groups in his DNA. He has, as far as I know, no American Indian background. He tends to be, I've read that he's something of a Holocaust denier, and he's also offended people with making jokes about baking 6 million cookies. He opposes women's right to vote, really a subject that was an issue that was pretty much settled in 1920 when the amendment was passed. But my main point here is that there is an oddity in the whole way we think of race, and that we even have a category called Hispanics, because Hispanics are not a race. Hispanics, by definition, are a kind of combination of races. And as individuals, some of them may be completely white, just have Spanish background, or, a Spanish surname with whatever Caucasian groups they are descended from. Some of them are, in fact, black, and a lot of them are primarily Native American. And the whole position that there is a group like that called Hispanics shows the confusion around race in America. That we have a group that has to be treated like a race, but it's not a race. Hope you like hearing that. Bye.